Welcome to episode 5 of the Unintentional Podcast with local, national and international legend Nick Warren, fantastic DJ. We've known each other for 30 years, both professionally and personally. We discussed all sorts of hot topics like Andy Weatherall's wood carvings, how Way Out West found their sound, and Bristol club politics in the 80s and 90s, as well as his time with Massive Attack and Cream and beyond. I've been busy recording quite a few of these pods over the summer. They'll come out every few weeks now to the end of the year and hopefully beyond. So I really appreciate you tuning in.
Hey, mate.
Mr. Warren, how are you?
Good. Very good.
Yeah, good.
Nice. I might just make myself a coffee.
Make yourself a coffee, mate. That's absolutely fine. Yeah, do it. I've just got one on the go here.
It would have been a beer, but
yeah.
Can't do that anymore. Or not this time of day.
Here at 10:30 in the morning. No. It's frowned on nowadays. Times have changed.
Yes, exactly. Sorry, dude. We've got a loud kettle, so you have to bear with me for
That's fine. Yeah, no worries, mate.
What's that? Just found a fishing fly on the carpet underneath my chair, which was just waiting to snag me in the foot.
Oh, my God.
Halfway through.
That would have hurt.
That would have not been fun. Right,
yeah.
Then I'll switch my phone off as well.
Good point, yeah.
Nobody can disturb. It's amazing how long kettles take if you're waiting for them.
Yeah. And toasters.
Mate, that's me. I'm ready.
So you've listened to a couple of these, I think, haven't you? As you kind of get
I have.
Feel.
Yes, I have indeed.
I've found them, they're kind of just super relaxed. And we go in. I've never prepared a question. I haven't got a clue where we're going. I've got a starting point, and then we just sort of carry on from there, really.
Very good.
And I said in the Ian Wilkie conversation that I had in April or whatever, that out of the whole Bristol environment, when it happened, there were two DJs that I felt were truly great. Mr. Wilkie was one of those, and spoiler alert, you're the other.
Hey! Final recognition from all those years of work.
And for very different reasons then, Mr. Wilkie, because what I really loved about you at the time was how broad you were with what you were doing.
Right.
You know, that kind of thing, while you were finding your sound and while the Progressive House thing evolved.
Yeah.
But the first time I met you was when we had the One Love Foundation test pressings in.
Yeah.
It would have been 1991, I reckon, or 1991. And I went around your house to give it to you, but I was too scared to knock on the door. So you had a letterbox that was big enough for vinyl, I seem to remember.
Yes, I do.
And I slid it through the letterbox, but you answered the door anyway.
Yes, I remember it well.
The first time, yeah. And I reckon that was probably 91.
Yes. Valley Road in Southville, I think.
That's right. It's exactly where it was. Yeah, mate.
Yeah.
Exactly where it was. I think James Savage had worked out where you lived or something.
Right.
And he drove you down there. I'm not even sure.
He probably followed me home one night to see where I lived. Because
very likely. He was very thorough in his research.
They were funny days back then in Bristol, that sort of late 80s, early 90s, because you read about it a lot now and about this amazing Bristol scene and everybody sort of knew each other and stuff. I actually found it quite unfriendly.
Right.
I found it very competitive.
Right.
The whole Bristol scene. There were small crews in Bristol, people that worked with people, and on the surface they were all very friendly, but actually I think they all hated each other, or not hated each other, didn't like other people's success.
Yeah,
that's a vibe I got very much in Bristol in those days. Sort of know your place, young man, kind of thing was very much part of it.
Yeah,
and of course I came from a very different background. I was an indie boy. I wasn't into soul and funk and that whole more black background of music, which was a lot of the Bristol scene.
Yeah.
I loved all that music, but it wasn't me. I was more punk and indie. I was more of a Depeche Mode, The Cure, craftworky kind of guy. So my interest in music, as you say, was quite broad. It wasn't sort of. I wasn't like a trip hop DJ or a house DJ or whatever. I just liked a broad spectrum, and I was very much influenced by specifically Andy Weatherall and the whole Boyzone, Flying Records, London, Balearic scene. That was my the sound sort of that excited me. The more indie-based bands like The Farm, Weatherall especially, as I said, and other some producers in that field. And I used to go up to London. I remember once a month I would just get on the coach, go up to London and walk around Kensal Rise and places like that where all the
action was,
small record labels were, and just walk into offices.
Yeah.
And I remember going in and seeing Andy Weatherall, Terry Farley, people like that, so working, because there was a promotions company called Pop Promotions, which was also in the Boyzone office, and I used to go in there, and then I would come back to Bristol and loads of other places in London. I used to go to all the record labels, and then come back to Bristol with piles of test pressings and promos and stuff like that, wanting to be that guy in Bristol that wasn't playing what everybody else was playing.
Mm-hmm.
I worked in Tony's on Park Street and went to Replay, but it was very much, it'd be packed on a Saturday or I think Tuesday or Wednesday when the imports came in, but then everybody was getting basically the same records. So I was reading that in DJ Mag, there was one page called Platform One,
mm-hmm.
which I used to read avidly every week, because that was more the Balearic sort of Italian import information about what was about to come. And I would make notes on all that and just make sure I got those records every time. So it was very much about sort of wanting to do something a bit.
But yeah, and that's absolutely. It's interesting what you say about the Bristol thing, because do you think that after the success of Massive Attack, there was a sort of trolley dash where everyone thought, oh shit, we can do this too, in our own way, and then everyone's trying to sort of muscle everyone else out of the
it was
spotlight a bit.
It wasn't a vindictive situation, and it wasn't people trying to stop people being successful. They just didn't really like you being successful.
No.
So it was still very good. Obviously, I was lucky because Grant, Daddy G, and I became very good mates. Early doors, sort of late 80s, early 90s, and it's been well documented that Massive Attack asked me to be their tour DJ for the Blue Line shows, and then also I worked with them on Protection, and they really did give me a massive boost to my career.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't think I would have got where I have today so without Grantley and all the Massive Attack boys being so supportive of me.
Yeah. And what were you playing then?
Oh God, anything.
Yeah.
It was one of those things, you never had enough records.
Yeah.
So B-sides, the third track on the B-side, drum and bass records slowed down to 33. Because I didn't play very fast then. I tended to play somewhere between 90 and 110 BPM.
Yeah.
So when I worked with the Massive Attack guys, and then it started to increase after that. But then it was just, you had to fill all that time.
Yeah.
And you didn't have enough records. So it was anything.
Yeah.
Killing Jokes, stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, sort of anything that I thought was good, I played. And of course, back then, you didn't have to stick to genres. You didn't have to stick to tempos in the set.
No.
You'd go all over the place.
Yeah.
And people would stay with you. I remember me and Grantley used to go and see Jar Shaka play at go down Old Market.
Yeah.
Past the police station, and there's a huge the Trinity
Oh yeah, right. Okay. Yeah.
Trinity. We used to go to Trinity to hear Jar Shaka play, playing dub reggae.
Yeah, he used to play there a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, he used to play there a lot. But there'd be a massive sound system. There'd be a stack of amplifiers, just one deck. So he would pull out an acetate, clean it, put it on, put the needle on. Then you would dance. And then the record would finish, and he'd take it off, put it back in its sleeve, put it back in its box, take the next one out, and of course this was like a minute and a half of silence. But then no one cared. That would be impossible in a nightclub, man.
Yeah, I mean that.
People would just go, okay. Well, they'd be on their phones, all.
Yeah. It'd be an interesting social experiment, actually.
Yes.
Had the balls to try it.
Yeah.
Especially in those clubs where they're not allowing phones in now.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. There's a definite concentration about it. And there was so much love for music then, and people willing to invest the time as an audience.
Yes, exactly.
To go and hear people play it.
Yes.
But,
Well, it was exciting back then. I remember because you went to see certain DJs knowing that they were the only ones that had those tracks. No one else had them.
Yeah.
So that was half the excitement of them. I remember because we started nights called 98 Proof in Bristol, and that was based around the tempo because most stuff was around 98 BPM, and that was me and Ian Dart to start with. Yeah. And Grant joined in after a while, and the promoters were Matt Mills and Ollie Timmins.
That's right.
And we used to do parties at the art college in Bower Ashton, and we did a series. If you look back at the lineups now, we were it was very cool. Finny Tribe, A Certain Ratio, Sub, all live acts we used to get in. Mm-hmm. And Danny Rampling, Andrew Weatherall played. And I remember Andrew playing, and I didn't know a single one of his records. Mm-hmm. He played after me, and I did not know one of them, and he was absolutely brilliant. And, for me, that was the most exciting thing.
Yeah.
Being excited about music that I didn't know what the hell it was.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Yeah.
Weatherall used to have little stickers on the labels of his records with "Piss Off Nosy" written on them, with people leaning over and stuff.
Yes, I did.
And that search for music, and I found some set of his from the 90s online a while ago.
Yeah.
And it was amazing.
Yes.
I didn't know any of it. I never heard of any of it.
No.
It was phenomenal.
Very sadly gone as well.
Yeah.
I was gutted when he died, actually.
Yeah.
Because for the past 3 or 4 years, I kept saying to myself, I must go and see him play. I must go and see him play.
Yeah.
And then he's died, bugger.
Yeah.
Missed it.
Yeah.
Way too young. But I put him on the same pedestal as John Peel for me.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
Made a difference to my musical taste.
Yeah. Yeah, he made more of a difference than John Peel did for me, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, the first time I came across him was that Promise Scream album.
Yeah.
And when that happened, that completely changed everything for me musically. And then I used to go and see him doing Blood Sugar at the Blue Note a bit.
Right, did you?
Booked him a bunch at Lakota, and he was just he was brilliant.
Yeah.
He was
nice man as well.
A really lovely bloke, yeah.
A very good, he had a very good collection of tartan bondage trousers.
He did.
Yes.
He did. Yeah, he did. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And a sardonic wit.
Yes. Yeah, very.
Yeah.
And he was a very good woodcut artist. I don't know if you've seen his art.
I didn't know that.
Yes, if you have a Google one day, have a look for Andrew Weatherall woodcut.
Oh, okay.
And he was a very good artist, actually.
And then 98 Proof moved to Lakota, didn't it? At some point. Did you do
the Moon Club? Actually, we didn't really do any 98s.
Yeah.
Because it was a small crowd. It was because it was all based around that slower tempo. But we did it at the time when the whole rave thing was really starting to explode. So most people actually sort of wanted to go for it. And we were playing a bit slow. And actually, that's why it kind of stopped, because I was getting more and more into house, and Ian was very much a soul boy, and the two things started to not work together.
Yeah.
So we did the Tube Club. I remember we did. It was in Bristol. I'm sure it's still the same. The Thursday before Good Friday was always a Thursday in the year, and we did the Tube Club, and I think it was something like me and Grant DJing, Tricky on the mic, Bjork came down, there was all this, and we had like 60 people. We made £16 each. We were like, yes, we've done it. And then we thought, well, maybe it's time to move on. And of course, Grant, suddenly Massive Attack became this monster band. And so Grant was very busy, et cetera, and it's like all club nights. I do think it's very easy for them to run on and on and on and on and on, and then just not be what they were. Yeah. I think that's the beauty of...
They do evolve and change naturally.
Yes, they do.
And it's whether or not you want to evolve and change with them or just...
Yes, exactly, which I think is important. I think people are always actually gutted when clubs shut, sort of iconic clubs. But then I think it's the best thing for them, because they wouldn't be the same.
No.
I've been lucky to play most of the major ones, Hacienda, Twilo, Cream, etc., and I'm glad that none of them are still there.
Yeah,
because I think they were of their time.
Yeah, no, they were, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. So after 98 Proof, you were involved with, where did you go with that?
Well, Hugo was doing some nights in Bristol, Revolution. I played a few of those. But then once I became Massive Attack's DJ, because we did Blue Lines, and then I was touring, and Grant and I were going around the country DJing as a duo. But then we were always billed as the Massive Attack DJs, which Grantley didn't really like, because it wasn't really the band, it was me and Grant DJing.
Yeah.
And then sometimes he couldn't make it, for maybe he was in the studio or other reasons. So I would go on my own. And of course I would turn up, say, Nottingham, and they'd book Massive Attack DJs, and it would be me on my own. And they weren't always that pleased to see me. As you can imagine. I did my best. I think I rocked it, but they were expecting something else. So that had, so there were great times, and Grant and I had great fun doing it. But then, because I was seen as Massive Attack's DJ, lots of the clubs around the UK wanted to book me. Liverpool, Cream, etc., Renaissance, all those clubs. And then once I got on that circuit of major clubs, and Cream wanted me to be one of their residents, then suddenly exploded.
Mm.
Suddenly I was getting phone calls from agents saying, we want to take you on. And then it just snowballed, and then it started to become international. And then suddenly I was going all over the world doing it. And I'm still doing it.
Still there now. Amazing. I know.
Still there now. But then it was exciting times, because it was so new. I remember I was the first Twilo in New York back then. Junior Vasquez was the DJ.
Yeah.
And John and Sasha had started to play over there, but they weren't allowed to play in his booth, in Junior's booth.
That's right.
And so I was the first international that was allowed to play in Junior's booth.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, because I played it once.
Yes.
Twice. Yeah, we weren't allowed anywhere near it.
Yes.
And
I was the first one. Yes, I was up in the gods there.
Wow, yeah.
And I was the first one to be allowed to play in there. And I remember I was about an hour and a half into my set, and the place was rocking. And I played the Mantronics track, which was breakbeat. And the sound engineer came to me and said, this is the first break track that's ever been played in this club. And the place went mental.
Wow.
And then at that same time, Junior came up the stairs into the DJ booth, shook my hand and stood behind me. And within 30 seconds, the volume dropped, I'd say, by 70% in the venue. And I was like, what's going on? I turned around and the sound engineer just looked at me and just shrugged his shoulders and pointed at Junior. So he'd obviously come in, didn't like the fact the place was rocking, and just turned everything down.
Yeah.
So again, it's quite competitive, or back then it was very competitive. People didn't really like you getting above your station.
No. He got the sound engineer to fade me out halfway through a record, basically. He was stood up in his booth like some sort of king surveying.
Right, yes. Yeah. I
think I was doing back-to-back with Timo or something. And then, just halfway through, it just went, and he started, and that was that. And they were like, all right, we'll finish then.
Yes, looks like it. Yeah, where should we go now? Cool.
So what year did you play Twilo? Because I figure you were there.
Oh God, I don't know, Leon. It's all a blur. But then it would have been early 90s. Mid 90s.
Yeah. You were long before I was there, I think.
Yes. Yes, I remember that. Because it was. Because even Oakenfold, I didn't realise this, but every time I see Paul Oakenfold, he was saying that you were actually the first UK DJ to tour the States, which I didn't know at the time, obviously.
Oh, right, okay.
So I was the first one that got booked to even before Paul and people like that.
You went to Ultimatum, didn't you, Cox's agency?
Yes, I went to Cox's agency first, which was great. But then Cream had also started an agency, and again, it was all very competitive between the clubs. Ministry, Cream, Renaissance, all of them, they didn't really speak to each other.
No.
So I know that Cream wanted me to be a resident. Darren used to call me about it, but they were very much okay. But you have to come and join our Cream agency.
Yeah.
So in the end, they talked me into it, which Carl wasn't particularly chuffed with at the time.
No.
I understand. But then it was one of those things. Back then, as you know, I didn't have any management, so it was very much I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea what I was doing. So when someone offered you what you saw as a good deal, you just took it because you felt it was the right thing for you. I don't regret it, but then I think it wasn't until I left Cream and I went to Accession Agency, which was owned by Sasha and Tara, and it had all of us really big prog people there. That's when I had a great agency, and then it really started to kick off, and I started to work with you then, didn't I? I was management. So yes, but then I think Ultimatum was me, Carl, Darren Emerson, and a few others.
The first time I booked you was to Ultimatum for, I think I did a Trinity called 7 Hours of Bliss, which was
that's right.
Kid Paul
with
Kid Paul.
Yes, that's right. Kid Paul, wasn't it? Who was amazing.
He was amazing, and he was Bristol, obviously, so he was about a year ahead of the crowd. And he played a track that I ended up playing 2 years later, almost every time I played at Shimmy, which is the Casper Pound mix of Union Jack, Two Full Moons and the Drought.
Yeah.
Which at the time, it stops. It has like silence in it. So it kind of builds, and then it just has silence, and then little piano breaks.
Yes.
And the audience would just stood there with just like, didn't get it.
That's right.
And he turned around to me and went, I don't think anyone's ready for this. And the two facts aren't connected. He actually gave up DJing about a year later.
Didn't he?
Yeah.
Yes. He was very pacey, wasn't he?
Yeah, very.
He was fast.
It was all like Superstition, Rising High, that kind of, at that sort of trancey period in those labels,
Which was amazing. Not all of it's aged very well.
No.
I remember being very excited about all that stuff.
No.
And buying vast amounts of records of that.
Yeah.
That genre. But as you know, I'm going through all my records at the moment to get to move them on, and I'm listened to a lot of that stuff from that era, but I don't remember ever playing it out.
No, it wasn't.
I remember them, but then I can't see where I.
They didn't really bit. I used to get excited when you did play something like that in your sets. But
Yes.
I could see how it didn't fit because it was just much too quick.
Yes.
And I used to read your charts a lot, and I literally just get excited. Like if I saw something on, on a label that I liked or something that I just thought, oh, look, he's playing that on Heart House or that on
exactly.
Well,
there was stuff like Experience, and I remember stuff on a +8 and labels like that, which is amazing. CJ Bolland and all those. I used to play those, but then it tended to be more. Say if you were playing at Universe or somewhere like that, that's when you pulled out those massive records. But there's sometimes in a club that, as you know, there were clubs everywhere.
Yeah.
And even in the Southwest, I remember going to Honiton once a month and playing a club. Barnstable. Now Honiton on a Thursday night, they're not going to take Superstition records. It's going to throw them off. It'll probably... Those clubs are funny, though, because there was always a fight as well.
Yeah.
Mid-set, you would, oh, no, here we go.
Yeah.
Suddenly there's a scuffle on the dance floor and it'll kick off.
Yeah.
So going to Bridgend on a Sunday night to play at the college and stuff like that, there were just gigs everywhere.
Yeah.
It was quite mad.
What was the point? Because it happened to most of you guys.
Yeah.
It definitely happened to Weatherall. And there's a point where, what point did you consolidate what you were doing into a genre? What point did you become prog? Because there was a point when Weatherall became techno. There's a point when clubbers wanted a certain style and clubs emerged into doing different styles and types and genres.
Yeah, so I'd say that in the early 2000s, especially the trance stuff, it went from being forward-thinking and exciting to like Burger King.
Yeah.
It was just commercial.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there was awful vocals being thrown in.
Yeah.
There were awful chord sequences. It was almost like sort of classical hits on dance, if you see what I mean. It just became a little bit embarrassing.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of us chose to find a deeper path, something that's a bit more progressive, if you want to say. Things became strange. It's like I remember going to play the Hippo Club in Wales and and Judge Jules was on and he started to play a trumpet over his set and it was like, okay, what's this becoming? Because it's not very good. Even making music in the UK, I found that if you looked at all of the major players of record labels, be they Positiva, Manifesto, any of these labels, through to Cream, through to Deconstruction, Warner Brothers, the A&R system became, let's sign everything and just hope that one sticks. So anything with any sign of commercial success was signed and promoted, and they got 15 remixes done of it, and it didn't matter if it flopped. Country and Western dance music, it was just bizarrely on.
Yeah.
So what was going on? And so I think that because of that, so you either had to go commercial, which always scared me off, or you had to go, okay, well, let's go for a deeper path. And I think that prog was very strong for a while and exciting. It did become very dull after a while. And then it's like all genres of dance music. So they go through stages where they attract forward-thinking young producers, and then they go through that cycle into becoming a bit dull. And so, yes, I still love my prog. There's not that much exciting prog at the moment. I think that it's going through a bit of a fallow stage at the moment, but then it'll come back.
Yeah, and it's hard to work out how to define it all again now. It's just kind of, I listened to Seth Troxler's mix he put up on SoundCloud on Monday, which I thought was amazing.
Okay.
And as far as I'm concerned, is prog.
Right, okay.
I'll send you a link. It's phenomenal. It's exceptional.
Right.
It's like it's a DC-10 compilation called Monday Morning that he's done a remix of all the tracks and put together, and it's for Grand Theft Auto. It's brilliant. I mean, it's sort of thing. You know, I thought I'll give that a go. It came off his Instagram feed.
Nice.
And it was for me. It was exactly prog because there's loads of different styles. There's plenty of melody. There's plenty of rhythm.
Yes.
It evolves into a thing after like an hour and a bit.
Right,
you know, there's all the things that you want it to do when, you know, you go and see prog DJs in the 90s. So I thought that was super interesting.
Yeah, cool.
And the records come from everywhere. You know, there's all sorts of things.
That's the thing now. It's like it's still very much to find. It's not going to land on your lap.
No.
The really great records rarely sort of land on your lap, and the great ones are the ones you accidentally find. Like in the old days in the record store, you might see a sleeve and think, "Oh, that looks good," and then play it and find you loved it. And now I think it's about spending time searching, for music again. So
100%. Just in a very different way, but you're absolutely right. And it's about, and we used to get drawn to records because they looked good.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yes.
But obviously things doesn't really how things look now, but it's definitely a skill. And obviously I'm not DJing anymore, but I do occasionally do a birthday party and think, I've got to come up with summer. And even that takes quite a bit of time to go in, find stuff that, you know, is interesting. And
because I find now recently there's been some tracks I've been playing which don't really fit a genre. They're kind of proggy, but they're kind of techno, and they're kind of that. It's almost like an indie idea.
Yeah.
And they excite me quite a lot. There's one act. Let me see if I can browse quickly for you. It's called Vice, VHYCE, and I've been. Their music is really interesting. It's fun, but then it's also very cool. So
Oh, okay. I'll check that out. Lovely.
Check them out.
Nice.
Yes.
It was just so important. I remember. Don't be offended. I'm sure you won't be. I remember getting a coach up to Final Frontier.
Yes.
To see you play in whenever that was.
Right.
And I don't know, say 94 or something.
Yes.
And I was watching you play and I was loving it. And then you played the Grid record.
Yes.
Whatever that Grid single was at the time. I was devastated. It took me about 3 months to get over it.
Yeah. Yes.
And people don't think like that anymore.
No.
They were like walking, go, I like, no, I don't like, the end of the story. But, you know, we'd all stand there for an hour and a half, 2 hours watching DJs.
Yes, exactly.
And if they played something we didn't like, it would have a massive effect on our kind of psyche and well-being for a really long time.
Yes. But then also, so let's remember that quite often we would play the wrong record.
Yeah. Put the wrong side on.
Yeah, all the time. But you hadn't marked, because you got so much music every week that it went in as white labels or whatever, went into your box, and then sometimes you pull out and you meant to play the B side, you play the A side, and it's that. So I'm not saying that's my excuse.
No, that's fine. But then
if it was not the cowboy one, was it? So
I think it might have been. Yeah, there was whatever their big hit.
Yes.
They had like a top 3 record.
From what I remember, there was a good dub of that. That didn't have all that stuff on.
Yeah.
But I obviously didn't play it. Yes. Yeah. And you know, on vinyl, it's not easy to get out very quickly sometimes.
Exactly. Once you're in, aren't you?
Yeah.
All right.
That's exactly. Yeah.
When did your compilation series domination start then?
Well, again, I'm very poor on years, but then the first one I think was Back to Mine, which was again one of those things. it always sort of did me very well, but being managerless, you trust the people that want to sign you when they come and see you. Oh, we love what you do, you know.
Yeah.
So we want you to make an album, and you presume they're going to give you a good deal, and they don't because you're naive.
Yeah.
Or you don't know what you're doing. I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't get a good deal out of them, as you know, because we talked about it often. But it was a good start for me, and then.
I still listen to it now, actually.
Yeah,
it's classic selection.
It was just a good choice. It's not really mixed. It's just one after another.
Yeah. And it was the first of the series, wasn't it? It was the very first band.
Yes, it was the first one.
Yeah.
On the series. So that was my first one. And then, of course, Global Underground came knocking. Again, I was signing deals which I had no idea what I was doing because I didn't even go and see a lawyer.
Mm.
I just went, that looks all right.
Yeah.
So I signed it.
There's some money at the top of the page. I'll take it.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Exactly. So, but then it was amazing times, and James and Andy were really fun. Amazing.
The
strong night out with those two, and a great brand as well. Me, 100%. Sasha, everybody else, and as you know, the idea was to visit cities around the world.
Yeah.
To do a party in one, and then, even though people thought they were live, they weren't. But then it was make an album based on your set in this city, and so they became the biggest compilation series in the world for dance music. It was a really good product, and it was fantastic, and it was. And I did 8 of them in the end.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. The early ones were fairly pacey, but a lot of that is based around that very fast, almost sort of trance style stuff. And then, of course, I think Reykjavik was a big game changer.
That was 100% a game changer, yeah, totally.
Because for a start, I think for the first 4 or maybe 5 of them, 4 of them, I should think, I didn't use a computer.
Yeah.
I just went upstairs in my house in Bristol, pressed record on the DAT player and just DJ'd, which no one else was doing at that stage. Everybody was employing engineers, computerized mixing, where they sat back and said, put them in this order, and the engineer did that. Now, maybe being naive, I thought it's best to mix them live because that's what people would want. Whereas actually, the problem with doing that is any slight mistake you make, if it's on a CD, then you hear it every time you play it. Every single time you play it, you hear it. So, and Sasha's was spotless, not a beat out of place. And he was always the king of those. Yeah. Those albums, and so eventually I came around to okay, I'm going to mix them on the computer, and Reykjavik then became the first one I did like that, and it shows really, and I think, and it was the first time anybody had done a down tempo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
on Global Underground, and that went down really well as well.
Yeah, totally. It completely changed the game, I think, for them. For the whole idea of compilation series, and I remember it's funny about the Sash thing, I remember being at after parties in America, speaking to very refreshed American ravers about how amazing Sash's GU was and how it didn't have any mistakes in it and stuff. Yeah. And people did fully believe that it was live, and most people hadn't been to most of the cities that the things came from. And it was such an exotic, amazing idea of, here's this DJ playing in whatever, Paris, New York, Shanghai, Reykjavik. It's before the era of cheap.
It was amazing. It was great fun.
Yeah.
Because it was, I think, the excitement for the parties was massive back then.
Yeah.
And even a normal Friday or Saturday night in Budapest or in Buenos Aires or whatever, it was just the excitement of walking into a venue in Mexico. I used to come and play in Mexico and the States. It was just like an incredible vibe, wasn't it?
And it sort of tailed off in the UK by then, because the UK moves really quickly.
Yeah.
So by that time, the drum and bass peak was probably 97, and then by 98, it's probably kind of two-step, and by 99, it's just... But the rest of the world, once you get that, use the UK as a platform, you can then go out into the rest of the world, and everyone's good, it's brilliant,
It's still like that now. It's still evolving around the world, So the Middle East and Asia now is got that vibe.
Yeah.
South America's had it for 15 or 20 years, and it's still exciting out there.
Yeah. It's constantly new young faces coming in, isn't it?
Exactly. And the States and America is, again, so that went through a big dip, and that's strong again.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
The club scene is very good. Mexico's amazing.
Yeah,
it's good.
Yeah, the US seems to be strong as ever, if not stronger now, I think.
Yeah, yes. Well, they've been the only ones that have been able to go to nightclubs for the past year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think a lot of that has all to do with, because it is so big in the kind of Latin countries. That's going to translate into the US quite quickly, I think, and come back that way,
Exactly. And then, of course, at the same... So running alongside all that in the 90s, Jodie and I started Way Out West. Yeah,
that was kind of where my next thing. So I remember coming down to Jodie's dad's place, Mickey, in Southville, whatever it's called, Arlington. I can't remember the road.
Yes, Arlington Road, wasn't it?
Arlington Road, 24, maybe.
Yes.
And you guys would be in there.
Yeah.
And, we were hanging around at the kitchen table, and you were sort of getting it all together, and it was... I remember you sort of discussing names, and you did your first thing with Earth Records.
Yes, it was. Earth Records was Replay Records, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because I wanted to make music for quite some time, but then, honestly, studio-wise, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. So I needed to find somebody to work with. And I was working in Tony's Records on Park Street, and Mickey used to come in a lot, and we were chatting one day, and he said, well, come down and try working with Jodie and see if it works. And came down, and it worked extremely well, because I think that Jodie had done the more hard chords, drum and bass.
Done the whole Sub-Love thing and doing all that,
And I think he was up for trying a more sort of housey vibe. And so basically what we did is we took my Balearic sort of almost Italian house sound and his drum and bass and hardcore, and put the two together at like 130 BPM. So it was The Gift, for instance, is basically sort of drum and bass house tempo with an open hi-hat. Which they didn't do. They didn't put over their breaks. So it was taking those two influences, and it worked really, really well.
It did. And again, it didn't fit in anywhere. And that was its biggest strength. So it took a bit of time for people to work out.
Yes. We were lucky with Way Out West because it was at a time that there was The Prodigy, there was Left Field, there was Underworld. So they wanted acts. And the duo idea was very big back then.
Yeah.
So James Barton who owned Cream, was also head of A&R at Deconstruction, and he came down and wanted to sign us, and signed us, and we did an album deal there, and it was great because it meant that we got a publishing deal, we got an advance, and we could sort of give up our day jobs.
Yeah.
And just concentrate on buying a few synths and stuff like that, and some outboard, and then spend time making music, which is great, which is sadly lacking for producers these days. It's very hard for a young kid who's really talented to make any money from making music, which means that he doesn't have to get a job. Because if you have a full-time job, then making music is like a sideline, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And you'd be in there like all day, you'd be in there all night in the studios.
Well, we never
moved
did
to Barton
that.
Hill, didn't it? After being in.
Yes, it did. We were very specific Jodie tended to not appear until the lunchtime, and I had a young child at the time.
Yeah.
So what we tended to do is I would get there around 11 in the morning. We'd work until 6 in the evening, and then I'd go home. But then, actually, if you work 5 days a week, 6 hours a day in the studio, you can get
a lot done.
Get a fair bit done, actually.
Yeah.
And it was every single day we went in, which was great.
Yeah. And you had a kind of real phase of remixing.
Oh, we remixed
some phenomenal.
I don't like
any of them.
I don't like any of them. No, I'll tell a lie. I like one. We remixed James Holden.
Oh, yeah.
Which is really good.
Yeah.
That's a really good remix. I cannot... we remixed A Certain Ratio, which I like. We remixed Jose Padilla for Cafe Del Mar, which I like. But most of them, I don't like at all now.
Right.
It was all really fast.
It was quite swift.
Yes.
The Ian Brown one I thought was quite good.
Oh, yeah. The Uncle is great. That's a really good mix, actually.
Yeah, that's the one, Uncle Ian Brown. And then...
But then we did way too many.
Yeah, because the money was great in those days.
Yeah,
we got paid for remixes.
Yes, exactly. I remember chatting to Deep Dish because 10 grand was normal for a remix.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Amazing. And now it's nothing.
You have no chance.
No.
And then there'd be like 8 mixes in a double package. You'd have to consume. You'd have to buy the whole double package for the one mix you wanted.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Well, it was that thing of A&R again. Just throw all the mud at the wall and see which bit sticks.
Connects. 100%. And try and get all the genres. We need to do a mix for Coxie. We need to do a mix for Sasha. We need to do a mix for Oki. You know,
for Aphex Twin, and then yes, which is always the best one. Yeah,
it was. Yeah, it probably was. I mean, you did do a lot at different times. You did a couple for me at some point.
Yes,
before you were involved with Hope.
But then, I'm always very dismissive of my past work. I don't know why, to be honest.
Yeah, you shouldn't be really. I mean,
I shouldn't.
You did solo mixes for early Hope stuff.
Yes,
which I thought worked really well. You did the
but then I think that I think it's because I always have tried to make my best track, and I've not got there yet. So I'm always like, no, forget that. This is going to be better. So
Well, look, you've never ever lived on nostalgia.
No,
a lot of people in your position in your career could easily dine out on nostalgia, and the thing that's helped you drive you is the fact that you've never done that.
No, I went through a stage of playing Yeki too many times.
Well, we've all done that, I think.
or stuff like that. But then the whole idea of playing a set of the classics is ghastly to me. It's fine. It works for some people, but then for me, I just think it would be the kiss of death to my...
Great if you're playing a 50th birthday party, but if you're out actually working the circuit to a bunch of 25-year-olds, it's completely... It's a non-starter.
Yes, that's right.
Obviously the thing... Carry on.
So no, I've always been more excited about what's coming in the future rather than
you have, mate. Yeah,
back at what I've done.
Yeah, and that's testament, I think, to what you've achieved over all these years and why you're still right in there doing it.
Yeah, amazing.
Because dance culture differs from other music culture in the fact that if you're 60, you're still going to see the Rolling Stones and spend 150 quid on a ticket. But there's always a point at which you think, oh, actually, I'm too old to go to clubs.
Yes.
But then you have a whole new blood coming in. And then, obviously, they all want something new and young and fresh.
Yes.
And if you're, an older DJ, some survive that new generation coming in because they're, rebuilding themselves and changing their brand and doing this. And, and you've totally done that together with Petra, and that's been fantastic. But some DJs don't survive that.
No.
It just seems on hat.
but then strangely, that's also quite genre specific, which is odd.
Okay.
Because if you think of a techno, Carl, Sven, all the classic Detroit boys, Laurent Garnier, he's in the 60s. All of these boys, nobody thinks twice about them being old playing. But then I think that the Brits are quite cutthroat, aren't they, in the way that thing. And also, I think that the scene here is very different. You know, because you've been with me, lots of clubs around the world are very age open, if you see what I mean. Lots of clubs in South America and Europe, it's no problem to see somebody either 50 or 18 now. And no one bats an idea. Whereas in the UK, it's not so much.
Yeah. So I think the culture here is about getting battered, and therefore that's a kind of young person's game. Yes. Whereas, you know,
well, that's true.
Whereas, you know, abroad, it's more about having a few drinks and a dance, isn't it?
Yes.
And the South American thing is so about the dancing.
Oh God, yes.
No one's come there to talk. No one's come there to do anything other than just turn up and dance for 10 hours.
But also, I think what's great, especially if you look at Argentina, is that the groups of friends will come, and from the stage you can see it. There's like 15 friends together, and they're all dancing, and they all look at each other. They're not all staring at me. So they've all got. There's a small party going on everywhere in that huge room.
Yeah.
They go out late. They turn up at the club at 1 or 2 in the morning, and they go home at 6 in the morning. Yeah. No one turns up at midnight at a nightclub over there.
No. Especially having turning up at midnight, having been in the pub all evening, basically.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
You know, none of that.
No.
Which makes a massive difference.
Yeah.
And, you know, and the tempo and the feel of what you're playing now is so on point for them. And it's such a perfect tempo. Well, you're now about 120-ish, aren't you, I'd say?
Yes, it varies between some 118 and 125. I think the thing is now, even more than ever before, it's a full-time job now. I spend 3 to 4 hours every day working on either my sets or going through promos or listening to new tracks I'm working on. So the whole process is very full-time. It's not like in the old days where I'd take out a record box and I basically didn't know half of what they were, and I was just hoping that I could skip through them quickly and it's that one. It's a lot more professional now. But then for a few years now, I think as a DJ, my goal is that each show I'm going to do, I've got to be better than the last show. So you have to strive for that.
Yeah, 100%.
That's what makes it exciting as a DJ to play as well. It's like knowing that certain things in your sets, certain new tracks, you know, is going to absolutely tear the place to bits. And, you know, you got that excitement when you played in Boston in the...
100%. I mean, I love it. I loved it. Yeah.
Yes.
And I still love it today. I just didn't want to pursue it as a career, but I still get excited today if I'm playing for a birthday party, knowing there's a track there and I'm going to build up to it for like 60 minutes or 70 minutes. And that's where the DJing comes in, because if you just played that track at the beginning of the night, no one would care. So it's all about how you play it, when you play it, what's either side of it, how that informs that, you know, and that thought process I find fascinating.
Because I think as a DJ, that's one of the most exciting things. You're the only one that knows what's coming next. Nobody else does apart from you. So it's up to you to place those tracks you love the right order, which is going to make everybody absolutely love them. Because if you're playing music that people don't know at all, then it's... that, as you just said, it's very easy to play it at the wrong time and people just not get it.
And people don't know the music you're playing. It is generally all new. A lot of it's unsigned. A lot of it's coming out on your label in a year's time.
Exactly.
A lot of it, you know. So you still have that old school mentality of bringing new music to people and not just turning up and trying to play some hits and hoping some people dance. And
Because we're lucky with the Soundgarden, and I hope that young producers send us music all the time.
Yeah.
And I still, if something comes through that I think is absolutely fantastic, I'm still just as excited as I was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It's that foot tap. Jody always said in the Way Out West studio, if he sees my knee bouncing up and down, then he knows the track is going to do well.
Yeah, all right.
So,
brilliant.
And it's the same with hearing new music. It's like I'm so excited to hear something which I think that's really good. That's so good.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, I look forward to seeing that tomorrow. I'm coming out to Warm Up.
Yes, of course. A festival tomorrow, which should be good.
Been anywhere in that world for a long time, so I'm looking forward to that.
Well, being England in August, of course, it's going to be a changeable day.
I'm prepared for that. It's fine.
Bring your bikini and your coat.
Exactly. Swimming trunks and thermals, and it's a solid lineup up there as well. So I think it'll be really good. I reckon. Yeah, it'll be nice. Definitely.
Should be fun, mate. Should be fun.
Definitely. Thanks very much for spending some time on this.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah.
Leon, it's been a pleasure to spend so much of my career working with you as well, because we've been
bless you.
shoulder to shoulder
for many years. Mate.
So yes, that's great. And yes, if you need to come back and do any more, if you think of anything else.
Yeah, 100%. Okay,
that we've not covered.
Like I said, I've been singularly unprepared for everyone I can. I started thinking, maybe I should think this, maybe, and actually it feels better doing it off the cuff.
Yes.
There's this therapeutic vibe to it. I think I like, and everyone involved likes.
Yeah.
It captures things quite right.
Yes,
There was moments with like the last one, the Bristol Techno Explosion, where about a week later I thought, actually, what I probably should have thought about is that and spoken about that and done that.
Right, yes.
But there's no way I would have thought of those things until after I've done it.
Yeah.
So that may well be the case. I'm going to do a one-to-one with Simmer next week.
Right,
cover all the stuff that we didn't do. So I might well be back for more with you as well, I reckon, my friend.
Great.
All right.
Great, lovely. All right, mate. I've got to run.
Have a good day. See you tomorrow.
Yeah. All right, mate. See you tomorrow.
Cheers.
Ciao.
Bye.